Q&A session. So right into it. Marnie Thompson says, Ron and Albus have the most gorgeous eyes. You're right, they do. She says, I love seeing how they've been growing up the past weeks. They're lovely. When it comes to breeding, how do you justify the price of each pup? And is it just by their DNA?
Speaking of that, we have lowered the prices. So
on the boys. Yes, there's 3 boys left. Yes.
3 boys left. We sold 6. So please call me. We just have 3 boys left, and we have lowered the prices.
Yes. To address the price situation, though, what should you price a dog for? Well, I think what you should do is you need to look. It's like selling a house. You need to look for comparable prices for other people selling similar dogs. So, the dogs that we sell, there are some huge differences here. For instance, if we used a dog like Dior, a cream boy with a cream girl, those would be maybe $3,500 dogs. But if you start looking at full fluffy dogs, that is really a completely different world. I mean, if you look at Denali, the stud fee on a dog like Denali alone is something around $8,000 just for the stud fee. And some of the stud fees of some of these full fluffies are $15,000 and more. So obviously that does affect the price quite a bit. All right, so let's see. Absolutely cool. Blah blah blah. Ford fan says, do you think a good structured fawn female is the best for the buck to breed later on? And any other recommendations? What about into the exotic colors if they have good structure? Well, I think that the thing that you got to remember is that the hardest thing to breed into a dog is structure. Would you agree with that, Tammy? So whatever you do, get good structure. So when we say good structure, what we're looking for is a smaller French Bulldog that has...
to look like a French Bulldog.
Yes, it does not need to look like a Boston Terrier.
No.
He doesn't want to have long legs, long tail, long neck, long nose. Now, these are all things that are going to affect...
Or narrow body.
Yeah, narrow body. I mean, look...
Go to the Frenchy structure.
Go to AKC and they'll show you the breed standard. Just
Yeah.
Google AKC breed standard French Bulldog and you'll see what's up. But I think that the thing here... So, back to what would a fawn be the right thing? Well, not really what I would choose because, there's... And it depends on why you're doing this. If you want to go in the show ring, then absolutely you should buy a fawn dog. If you're looking to build into other colors, like blues and chocolates and those kind of things, then I would try to find a fawn that has those colors inside it. They're in its genotype, not its phenotype. Phenotype being physically the way it looks. And the reason for that is that you don't have to take another generation to start producing those colors. And this goes back to the previous one about price. And I did another video that talked about what does it cost to breed a French Bulldog, and it's all over the place. So I'm not saying that you should... I think the important thing here is if you're breeding French Bulldogs or any dogs, is that you're passionate about what you do. Now, I think that's the most important thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it for money, because if you don't look after the money, you will lose money doing this. So pay attention to the money, pay attention to the structure, and enjoy...
Pay attention to the structure.
Pay attention to structure and enjoy what you're doing. It is work doing this. And if you don't like doing it, you're doing it purely for the money, I don't think you'll probably do a very good job at it. So, okay.
If you lack in structure, add it, you can build it up by a better looking structure and produce puppies that'll have a better looking structure than mama or daddy. Take a pick.
So here's a question from Cornell Moore I've not been asked before. Since it's a 10-day extender, and if I do next day shipping and I use it that day, is it possible to have older and younger puppies in one litter when they conceive too far apart? So the question here is, first one is that one's guessing that because you use a 10-day extender, that's what keeps the semen alive. It's not exactly true. So the reason for extender is to keep the semen alive outside the female. Once you've put the semen into the female's own chemistry takes care of the situation. And if you read, some things will say that semen can stay alive inside a female for up to 10 days. I think that's very optimistic personally. Certainly the extender can keep it alive for that long. But this is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about once you've bred the dog, is there the possibility that you'll get puppies that are 5 days younger than the other ones? And look, I suppose so, but I have my doubts about this, but I do see a lot of people asking these questions. Certainly we have litters. We had a large litter, for instance, from Denali, and in that litter, that was actually originally a litter of 10. We actually did lose one. Unfortunately, we lost one puppy in it, but there was a litter of 10. There were what, 4 small puppies?
Oh yeah.
There were 5 ounces.
Well, yeah.
And there were 5 puppies that were 8 and 9 ounces. So there you go. What do we do? Tube feed. Keep the little ones going and keep them up so that over the next 3 or 4 days they could gain the weight back, and they did. And the puppy that we lost was not because it was underweight. There was something else going on with that puppy. But I mean, you know, you have 10 puppies. It's going to happen. Exactly, it's going to happen. So I think the answer is, look, get the dog pregnant, and I wouldn't get too worried about this because you can't control this. Oh, George says, thank you very much, James. Your videos are very helpful, the best on YouTube. Thank you very much. Jeffrey Warren says, your wife never do what you tell her. Why is she always talking back to you?
Because that's just what wives do.
She does what she wants to do because she's the boss. And if I tell her what to do, then you see me with 2 black eyes. And they're not black today. So I've been a good boy the last 24 hours. Don't my thing over.
I'm just getting this person off.
See, I'm telling her what to do and she's not listening to me. There you go.
I'm not. So you're wasting your breath.
Crafty Beauty says, such a good mum. She's talking about Chanel's new litter with Supernova. My Schnauzer rejected her puppies and killed 2.
Oh.
We had to take them away and bottle feed, stimulating all the stuff mums do, till they were 2 days old. For 3 weeks now. I'm exhausted, but it will be worth it. Well, I got some comments about that, about what you could do next time that this happens. So,
in 2 miles, take the I-40 west.
Let's talk. My phone's talking to me. Let's talk about when you get into this situation, and I think we're going to spend the rest of this video talking about this, because I think this is good information.
That one's got a snout that you're able to tie them.
Yeah, you're on the right track. So
she just.
So
it's
let's.
iffy if she wants to be a mama. There's, you know, it's.
Some dogs not meant to be mums, right? Yeah. Well, so.
Don't want to be a mama.
Yeah. So get the sun off my face here. If they really matters, because nobody's watching this to see me anyway. Are they watching to see me?
Yeah.
The phone should be on the other side so you can see my wife. She's much prettier than me. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk now. Let's have a conversation. Tammy and I are going to have a conversation. And we haven't talked about this before, so here we go. Conversation about, well, we've had the conversation before, but not in preparation for this.
Through this way or the other way? Oh.
I just take the I-40 exit. We're going to talk about mums rejecting puppies and what can you do, because you can get in a really bad situation here. So,
take the I-40 west exit toward Amarillo.
Yeah. So, let's turn that off, like you say. Yeah. So, right. So, mum is rejecting puppies. Okay. So the first thing is to get the right atmosphere for mum to accept her puppies in the first place. And you've heard us talk about this before. About we don't separate mums and babies unless you are forced into that situation. You can get forced into it, but we want to start off with mums and babies together. We don't want to separate them, because that can cause, number one, anxiety separation. Number two, it's 24 hours before mum's had a baby. They're not her babies at that point. She's rejecting them, so you've got a really bad start. So I think the first thing is this is a quick plug on our whelping system that lets you have mums and babies together right from when they come home. And the litter that Chanel had the other day, they literally a couple hours, you saw them, and literally, what was it, maybe an hour and a half after they came home, we introduced them to her. You know, in our presence. So we actually got them out on a rug on the living room carpet, and we put some peanut butter on their bums, and we went through.
Made sure she was pretty well awake from her
Yes.
C-section.
Yes. So that's another thing. The Schnauzer situation maybe didn't have a C-section, but certainly in dogs that have a C-section, they can be groggy for 24, even 48 hours and get pretty lost. And then add to that a dog that's never had puppies before, that maybe is a year and a half, 2 years old. Man, they're completely lost, and you've got to help these dogs out, otherwise you can have bad results. So the first thing is you need to be there to make sure that mum has accepted her puppies before you ever decide you're just going to leave them alone, right? So then, what are the reasons that you'd separate mums from babies? Well, mum dies. She separated herself, had no control over it. Something awful happened. she got milk acclamation and she died. She died from anesthesia for the operation. Her stitches came open, she got an infection and she died. You let her outside to go pee and potty and she got run over. You just pick the one that you want. Of all those horrible things, they do occasionally happen. You're forced into a situation, you're raising puppies. And in that situation, the two things that you should have is an incubator, like the ones that we sell, and you should have feeding tubes and bottles and goat's milk. And you just have to do it all yourself. But let's say that she's being shitty towards her babies. There are some things that you could do. And so in this situation with the Schnauzer, where she killed 2 of her babies, there's something that you could, next time with this Schnauzer, what do you do? Well, one thing is you might say, I'm not breeding that girl anymore. She's done. And we have had a dog like that, a German Shepherd.
Yeah, wasn't a Frenchie breed.
Wasn't a Frenchie breed, it was a German Shepherd.
It was a German Shepherd.
And she killed all but one of her babies. It was a horrible time. And we made the mistake, they're actually the breeder we got the dog from said, oh, you don't know what you're doing. We knew we did, but we're not going to have it. So I said, well, look, next time you breed her and you look after the sheep. And she said, yeah, we will, and we'll show you how to do it.
Same thing.
And she had 5 puppies again. And that evening she called up and said, oh, she's doing great, she's wonderful. Next morning she called me up and said she
killed them all but one.
She killed them all but one. So,
she always just kept one.
Yes.
She didn't want 5. She wanted 1.
Yes. My parents should have done that with me. They'd have
Horrible.
killed me and one of my sisters, and they'd kept my smaller sister. That's what they'd have done,
Yeah.
but they weren't
So
smart enough to do
She
that.
got fixed.
She got fixed. And she was a good, she liked human beings, she didn't like dogs. Right? So in that situation, what do? You cut your losses, you don't go through
Remember,
that.
that was not a Frenchie.
It's not a
German
Frenchie,
Shepherd.
that's right. But look, here's what you could do. You could put a muzzle on the dog. Can't bite a dog. You can still do some damage, don't get me wrong. You can still stomp a dog or whatever else. But a dog that is having a rough time for the first 48 hours, I would put a muzzle on the dog so the dog can still lick through the muzzle and still try to get the dog to lick on the babies.
That's why after you've had puppies, you need to be hanging around close.
Yes. Yes, we don't have puppies come home, throw them in a cage with our whelping system and go off and eat food.
No.
We don't ever do that. Now we're
Stay home with them.
we're typically 2 or 3 hours into this before
5
anybody's
days,
out.
we're right at home.
First
Sure.
24 hours, that crate is outside
Then
our
we go to the
bedroom.
grocery store. Then we
Yeah.
come right back.
Yeah, first 24 hours, the bedroom door is open, and
Yeah.
the puppies are outside the bedroom door with mum, so we can hear any
Do that
noises.
for the first 3 days.
Yes, just to make sure everything's fine. And I mean, you'll hear noises because mum's in there mucking around with the puppy, and the puppy's complaining about it. It's getting its bottom licked.
And at 5 days,
And
we'll
it'll-
run to the store and
Yeah,
come
and it'll
right
wake you
back.
up, but you just lay there in bed and you wait about a minute. If the noise goes away, you don't worry about it. But if you hear all hell breaking loose, of course,
Yeah.
which I have never seen in a Frenchie,
No.
but we did have a customer with a Frenchie that was born with a deaf Frenchie, and that Frenchie did kill all of his puppies. So it's not like it couldn't happen; it could.
Yeah.
But anyway, right. So what else to add to this conversation, Tammy? This is a good one.
Yeah.
Just, and there's another thing here about bad behavior on the part of the mother. We are in the camp. When I was a little boy, if I misbehaved, I got swatted. I mean, not in a mean way. And with our kids, there wasn't much swatting going on. It was never a fun thing to do, and it always felt awful doing it. But there were times that when our kids misbehaved, after repeated warnings, they were going to get smacked. And not to hurt, but to embarrass. Would that be the right word for it?
Right.
To embarrass would be the right word for it. And the last time I had to Chanel, she was 16 years old. And that girl, golly,
She
that
said
girl.
some things.
She said some things she shouldn't have done. She got a swift smack by
I don't know why you got to bring this up,
well,
James.
but I'm bringing this up because I
No.
think, but I'm bringing this up
Yeah.
because I think that it's quite fine. Look, positive reinforcement is a great thing, but if your dog is doing shit you don't want it to
People
do,
aren't gonna believe that story anyway.
I know, she's a sweetheart. But the point here is, if your dog is doing something that you don't want it to do, it's time for a firm
you can
no.
take a magazine or newspaper, roll it up, and hit it on your hand, and it makes this loud noise. That brings attention to a Frenchie, to any dog,
Yes.
and you say no.
So
That'll
what-
grab attention. That does good.
So one of the things we do quite often see is when Frenchies are transitioning they're getting to start to eat real food, and they're in there with mum, and they start eating mum's
Yep,
food.
that's where you really stand there and watch.
Every now and then you'll have a mama who does not want her food to be eaten by anybody else, including her babies. And she'll start growling at a baby. And if we see that behavior, she gets a smack on the nose. Not hard, nothing that's going to,
We haven't had very many females do that.
No, but we have had it.
One
We
or
have had
two,
it.
that
And you
was it.
break them of it in a hurry because they
Oh, yeah.
want to please, Frenchies want to please you. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying here is stay on top of it, be the boss, let them know that you're the boss, you're the alpha dog, and be the alpha dog. And then expect the right behavior out of your mamas, and love them and hug them and praise them and give them treats and all the wonderful stuff when they're doing great
And
stuff,
Such good mamas they are.
which is almost all the time. But if they're doing something that's just really not what's in the game plan, step in and help them out to understand what's right and what's wrong. God, it's a long video right here. We're 60 minutes into it. Are we done?
And you could yak forever, couldn't you, James?
I like yakking. Yakety yak. Don't talk back. Tammy, say goodbye to these fine people.
Yeah. Call me about my full visual fluffy boys that are left.
Yeah, she's
And
got
the
3.
Prices have lowered.
They have lowered, and I tell you what, there are 3 beautiful dogs that will make some great puppies down the road.
Yeah.
And they these guys, they're at 9 weeks. They need to go by 10 weeks. So the dealing time is on, and Tammy's doing some of that. So
I'm wheeling and dealing.
she's really, they're still not. Don't think they're going to get $5,000 dogs, but at the same time, the prices is Tammy's saying don't say anything. All right, there we go.
You gotta call me.
They got to call Tammy, and here's Tammy right here.
580-799-1910. Call me.
See you, everybody. Hey, subscribe to us, please. We've only got 1 subscriber so far.
You're supposed to quit talking.
Okay, fine.